welcome back to my channel. Today I'm at the park and honestly I want to talk. Recently I watched a video posted by Tommyinit that was called A Very Bad Year, and I just felt like I resonated with it a lot, which to me was really interesting because we live very different lives, but in a lot of ways I think it just shows how much people are struggling everywhere these days, and I just kind of wanted to talk about my very bad year. I feel like with the way that social media is, you kind of feel the need to put your best foot forward, and I've always found YouTube to be a way that I can kind of escape even when things are going pretty good. I like to just put my best foot forward and really just, I don't know, make myself seem maybe a little better than I actually am. I started posting on this channel as a part of my CAS requirements for the IB program, and it was just kind of fun to experiment and do fun stuff on YouTube. I've kind of talked a little bit more about my feelings about childhood and stuff in my video for Halloween, which I think really foreshadows why I'm doing this video. So in Tommy's video, he talks about his big six worst things that happened in his year and sort of the reason he was making his video. And so I decided to sit down and kind of make my big six. I have 7, and in no particular order. I'm just kind of going through them just to be more vulnerable. So number 1 on my list is that my family became homeless about 6 months ago. On my YouTube channel you can see a video where I was doing a packing video, and I was packing up my room, and I did a room tour and I filmed those together, and those were the last videos I got to film in my family's home. We were only there for a couple of years, and before that we were homeless too. I've spent several periods of my life in homelessness. I was born homeless. So I feel like it's a thing to me that doesn't seem that bad, and I kind of feel the need to underplay my situation because it's kind of a survival tactic, you know, where it's if I admit that I feel uncomfortable and my situation isn't good, then I have to kind of grapple with the fact that most of my life has kind of been like that. So right now my family is staying in my grandparents' RV. The RV is actually older than I am, and they actually were using it when they first came to see me after I was born, because they were just on vacation and they moved, they had to drive hours and hours to come see me when I was born. So you could say it's in pretty rough shape. It's not great at keeping heat or cold in, and it's quite hot where I live. It's December and it's still quite bright out. In a way I just feel it's even been hard for me to come to terms with the fact that homelessness is the description for what I've experienced in my life, because it's not I've been sleeping under bridges or having to go live in homeless shelters since I was very, very little. But it's the insecurity of it that I think really is the big thing. So even though we don't technically pay for where we're staying, because we're allowed to borrow it for the time being, we still pay a lot rent. It's a lot with a single parent, and my mother is disabled and can't work very much, but also doesn't have access to healthcare to make sure that she can get on disability. My number 2 is my parents splitting. They split at the beginning of this year. It was a part of kind of how everything just unraveled this year. My dad lost his job. He got into an accident, and he was a truck driver, and he lost his job and lied to my mother about it during Christmas of that year, and so we were kind of acting like nothing was really all that bad because we were under the impression that things would just go back to normal. And I think it's easier to just pretend everything's normal, but even at that, money was still already so tight that we weren't doing Christmas, and my brother's birthday is right around Christmas, and he didn't get to do anything for his birthday. So there were signs that things were falling apart, but parents try to save face, and in a way I was kind of trying to protect myself from the idea that we'd be homeless again. So my parents ended up splitting, and the house foreclosed, and my dad moved back to where I'm originally from, so he's very, very far away because it's just better pay there, and so he's living on his own. and our relationship has been hurt quite a lot. And honestly, the relationship with my whole family has been kind of hurting, just out of the fact that like living in a cramped space with no privacy, with like income scarcity, like it does put a strain on your relationship. I do want to note the split between my parents was my stepdad and my biological mother. My stepdad, I've known him since I was around 6. Before my 7th birthday is when I met him. So to me, he was just my dad. And so it just kind of hurts to not really see him, and then also the fact that like he's never really taken accountability for the fact that he left me and my brother and my mom to kind of fend for ourselves. Number 3 kind of rolls into these ones of struggling to find work. I put in a lot of applications for jobs because once I realized kind of how bad things were getting, because by the time like my IB results came in, I remember recording an intro at the house, and then by the time I had to react to my results, I was already quite emotional because I'd recently become homeless. And so in that video, I come across way more emotional than I feel like I would now. Like, I'm still kind of upset about the scores, but they're like bigger issues, you know? Recently I've received some comments that I don't want to call them hate comments, because I don't think that they're trying to be mean. It's just more so I take it very personally when people talk about my academic standing, of people saying that I'm making excuses for myself. Really trying not to cry. But there were a lot of people saying like that they got really good grades and all the resources are available online. Because like in that video I did make a lot of excuses and I like didn't take enough accountability. But there is sort of a thing where like, yeah, there are people out there that have it way harder than me, and they're succeeding and they're doing more than I am. And so I think that's kind of a reason why I find it so hard to like be kind to myself and be like, yeah, sometimes you do have it hard, because like I know I've had it harder and I know other people do too, but it did kind of hurt because like I know my scores aren't great. A 29 is not a good score, and especially for me, somebody who's a straight A student all throughout secondary school, and I always did well academically, and it was kind of the one thing I could do to really make my family proud of me. It really hurt to see people kind of say those things. And I don't think, like I said, I don't think that they were trying to be mean. Like, people don't know. And like, I was being vulnerable in that video, and when you be vulnerable, like, you're bad in how people say stuff. But it's just kind of frustrating, because like I knew the stresses I was under, and I knew like my limitations, and I was trying to be courteous to myself because I struggled to do that. And then the moment I do, I feel like it wasn't appreciated. But I was really struggling to find work this year. I did take a gap year. I don't know if I'm going to go to university next year, just because of the economic strain it would have on my family. But I've been working a part-time job now for a few months, and I've been applying for a second job because there aren't many full-time jobs available. My number 4 big thing is we've been having car troubles. So we have a 2012 vehicle. It's quite old, and it's a used car that we've had for a while. And of course, having 2 people that work in the household, only one person can go, and I don't drive. I don't have my license or anything because we don't have 2 cars, but my mom does delivery work because it's the easiest thing for her to do with her disabilities. I bike around everywhere, and like in a way, like I can see the shine in it all, where I like being active, and it makes me feel good to just kind of tune everything out and just go on a bike ride. But it's also like really dangerous where I am. So like there are times when I'm biking around and I look at a corner and there are like flowers because like somebody's been hit and killed at an intersection. And like you kind of just have to tune it out. And like I have a reflective jacket that I got, and I've got lights on my bike and stuff, but you can never really be that certain when there's so many people just distracted driving. But even at that, like my mom doesn't have it much better because the car needs so much maintenance, where we just replaced the battery. And so we had to put rent on our like last credit card. We only have one credit card that works still, and so like a lot of the rent is going onto that credit card because we had to pay out the $200 for the car battery because the car wouldn't start. And even before that, we were having issues with the electrical system in the car, and I was costing hundreds of dollars, and it wasn't even that expensive compared to how it would have been if we took it to a shop, because my grandfather knows how to do a lot of repairs and stuff, so he would fix up aspects of the car and like replace tires. And it's just, it's a vehicle at the end of its life, because like cars from the 2010s just aren't built to last, and so all the maintenance is really building up, and it's the only way to keep our livelihood. Number 5 is that my brother started having sort of unexplainable seizures this year. At first they were like every month or so, and then they've just become so much more frequent, and it's hard to know what the triggers are, and it's hard to keep him safe in such a cramped environment, because when you start having a seizure, like, you can't hold yourself up or anything, and it's like, he's quite muscular, and I'm quite, like, it's hard for us to care for him in the way he needs to be. And then the fact that like insurance doesn't really cover everything you want it to, and I don't even know what kinds of medical debt we're in, because we've called ambulances for him, because what do? Like, you have to. And like, he has government insurance. I don't have insurance, and my mom doesn't have insurance. It's just been really taxing, because my brother already had a pre-existing health condition that he shares with my mother and runs through the family, which I don't have. And it's just frustrating to see him have to struggle again with another medical condition. Especially because we don't know what it is, and he doesn't know what it is, and it's just frustrating, because he just wants to get through high school. And it just kind of feels like another thing he shouldn't have to go through. But like, the seizures, they don't have really an explanation for them. The first few ones he had were with like family, friends, or alone. I remember the first one he had, I came home from something after school, and I just come home, and he was on the floor in the bathroom. Door was open in our hallway, and his door was open, and he was just collapsed on the floor, and we had to call an ambulance. And I remember my mom sending me out so that I could help the service workers get into the house and get the stretcher in to help him. And just, there was an ice cream truck that went by before I heard the ambulance, and when you're sitting there listening really close for the sirens, and it's just the juxtaposition of it all, where it's like, this is my little brother. Like, I wish I was waiting for an ice cream truck, but I was waiting for an ambulance. And then one of the most recent times was probably the most upsetting situations. My brother has had 3 seizures where I'm the only one who can be there for him. And I remember the first one was really scary, because it's hard to know exactly what's going on in this situation, because he's having like auras, he's feeling the symptoms of a seizure coming on, but like, his ability to communicate degrades very quickly, and you just have to know when to catch him, and you have to know when to, like, if he's able to get on the floor on his own, to just try and keep him from falling and hitting his head or hitting stuff. But it's like, one second you're making eye contact, and then the next second he's making faces that you could never make on purpose. Like, seizures in film, I feel like, don't do justice, at least what it's like for my brother when he has seizures. It is the most, like, traumatic thing to ever witness, to see somebody that you grew up with like that. But it adds to the struggle of knowing, like, when to work, when not to work, because you don't want to leave him alone when it happens. Like, you don't want nobody to be there, and you never know when it's happening. And they've been happening more frequently, where earlier this month he had 2 in a day, and then he had 1 the next day, and it was just like, it's just a lot. And not because like I don't want to be there for my brother, it's just I want him to not have to worry about it. And I don't want him to feel any type of way about it because he's expressed feelings that he doesn't want to be a burden on other people and he doesn't want people worrying about him. And it's like, of course, like I don't view it that way. But like, how do you, like, you can't really convince somebody to not feel that way. Like, I understand where he's coming from, but it's just a very complicated situation. Especially because his other condition is one that people can see from the outside and people could judge him for his entire childhood. And it took me years to even realize that it was happening, because to me it was always just, that's my brother. And like, it's a condition that runs in my family, it's just normal to me. And so then to see him have to deal with a condition that people can't see as well, it's just like, it has to hit him from every side, is how it feels sometimes, and it just doesn't seem fair. Somehow, on a lighter note, I'm gonna do my number 6, is I've been feeling quite lonely ever since I graduated. I've always been a very academically minded person. It's always kind of been my escape. And I felt like I finally found my people at school and in my education environment, and I felt like people cared about me. But like when you graduate high school, like everyone's going off to university, like all my friends are moved all over the place, like, and it's just hard to make time because like they're making new friends. And of course I had to be interrupted by storage being full on my phone. But what I was saying is that I don't resent my friends for moving on without me, because had I gone to university, I would have done the same. Like, you just move on with your life, and like, yeah, you keep in touch with some of your friends, but realistically none of us really knew each other all that long. Like my school district that I'd even been at, they didn't even have like primary schools, so all the kids, no matter what, like they only knew each other maximum throughout all of secondary school, which most of them didn't. But it just makes you feel kind of lonely, because like you still see them on social media. Like I see all my friends on social media, like just, I don't even know what it is necessarily that I'm jealous of, because they're just doing normal things. But I think that's maybe just it, that I'm just jealous that they're doing normal things, and like I want to go to university, and I want to go start working on my career, and I want to go and have like my own apartment and have my friends and do normal adult stuff. It just makes you feel kind of lonely because nobody's really here anymore at all. And like I get along with like my coworkers and stuff at work, but most of them are a lot older than I am, so it's not like the kinds of friends that at any point would you ever be like, let's hang out outside of work. Like they're all in their 30s, like 40s, and being 18, like I get why they're not my best friends. Like I totally understand it. It's just like from an emotional standpoint, like I can also understand my feelings and understand why I'm feeling upset. And it's kind of interesting that in Tommy's video, he was saying that he felt lonely and he only had 5 friends. And it's like kind of crazy to think that there's a millionaire across the world who feels lonely. And so do I. And kind of we all do. At the end of the day, kind of we all just feel kind of lonely. My last one, my number 7, is just kind of my adult identity crisis. I talked about it quite a bit in my Halloween special video, which kind of just shows that this is a culmination of me becoming more open and me being more vulnerable on my YouTube channel. But it's just kind of weird, especially where I feel like I'm at a stagnant stage in my life where it's like I'm not a kid, because like I have a job and I like have responsibilities and I go grocery shopping on my own, and like I take care of my younger brother and stuff. So like in a way I kind of feel like an adult. Like I had to go down to the DMV, I biked to the DMV and like try to get my ID and stuff so that I could register to vote this year, and try to do that all on my own. But on the other hand, like I'm still like with my mom, and like I never moved out, I'm not going to university, like I'm not buying cars, like I'm just kind of like in limbo of like I'm not an adult, I'm not a child, and it's kind of giving me an identity crisis. And like, it kind of makes sense because being 18, like, you're also kind of not a child, not an adult, but it feels kind of exacerbated. And like the fact that like my mom treats me more like an adult, and like in a way it makes me feel kind of respected, but in another way it kind of makes me feel not as protected. And then my dad kind of treats me like a child, and it makes me feel kind of undercut and undervalued. And so it's just like, and I think that's why it's hard for me to have a conversation like that with my family, is because like I don't know what I want. I just know that nothing's working. Like everything on my list, like it's just not working. And like I'm just trying to be optimistic because I'm a generally very pessimistic person, but like there's a part of me that still has hope, and I think that's why it's still easy for me to kind of like put forward a feeling of like it's gonna be okay, because like maybe I am going to university next year, but like in a way like you can't just abandon it ever. So now that I'm done doing my massive trauma dump, which I hope doesn't come across as me just being a whiny little brat, because like I don't know, maybe that's just like the inner like insecurity in my head telling me that, but I don't know. It just always hurts when I see somebody who I feel like has it better than me complaining, and I know that I have it better than lots and lots of people. Like even people that I probably live around, there are people that I have it better than, but there are also probably a lot more people that have it better than I do. I'd like to say next year will be better. I don't really see it being that way, but maybe the year after that, maybe 2026 is my year. Because I still want to go abroad for university. I contacted an old teacher to get my reference. I finished my letter of recommendation. I finished my applications. So it's a matter of that, and then I'm applying to a couple of smaller universities in my country, because if I'm staying here, I want to spend as little as possible. Like I don't think I'm gonna pay a full price to go to like a larger institution, because to me the value isn't quite there. But at least my grades here would be way more competitive and would help me get like a lot of scholarships, and maybe I could even graduate debt-free. So like logically it makes a lot of sense for me. So I'm just kind of trying to go with the flow. Like this year was really bad. Like really, really bad. And like in a post-COVID world, I didn't think that it would get this bad, but it's just another year. If you guys also had a really bad year, you can comment down below. I'll be here in the comments. I read every single comment I ever receive, which is probably not a good thing. And I don't know why I take it so personally, honestly, because it's like, I don't know these people. I'm not a big creator. I'm not like a figure of any kind. I'm just a person on the internet. But I think now, at least I'm being a little bit more authentic. And it's not like I was being fake before. Like, I was doing little vlogs, I was doing study content, and it's like, that was kind of what my life was like at the moment, but like, it was kind of hard to realize that I couldn't sugarcoat my current situation, where it's like, I'm even filming outside for my voiceovers and not wanting to like do similar content to what I did before, because it's not as like aesthetically pleasing, and like, I don't really have a lot of the time to do that. But thank you for listening to my little trauma dump and rant. I hope I didn't cry too much when I'm editing this. I hope I don't like cringe, but I'll see you next year.